You know how long I've been waiting for this? Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here.
The new millennium began. Fox hit a home run with the superhero movie that had been generating success since the 90s. X-Men managed to be one of the highest-grossing movies of that year, making it a sure thing that Fox would get the most out of this intellectual property. 10 movies and 19 years later, the saga of Fox mutants finally concluded. But not all the pieces of the Fox group were there. The New Orleans mutant who had his passion for cards and women was missing. Remy LeBeau, Gambit, was missing. Most likely his appearance in Deadpool and Wolverine was to give people the satisfaction of seeing Tatum in the skin of the mutant, a simple hello and goodbye. But it may not be the last time we see Tatum in the MCU. Let's go back and see why. Since his arrival in the comics in the 90s, Gambit has won the affection and smiles of the public, being one of the audience's favorite X-Men, even competing for the first place with Logan. And this fact was known to the executives and creatives at Fox, which is why they never stopped trying to include the character in a movie in the saga. But because the right moment didn't come, justice was not done to our Bon-Ami until now.
How did you all get stuck in the void?
Maybe I was born here. It's hard to know for sure.
We go back to the year 2000. The X-Men movies being created. The battle of Charles Xavier's team against Magneto's won. The original X-Men return, except for a few companions. Neither Beast, Nightcrawler, Jubilee, nor Gambit appear in it. This is explained by one of the film producers, Ralph Winter. After the film was a success, they already had a clear path to be able to make a saga, and thus be able to introduce the characters in the subsequent films. In X-Men 2, Singer wanted to introduce Gambit, so he recorded a scene in which Remy LeBeau is about to die, with his deck of cards burning due to the effects of Dark Cerebro, used by a kidnapped Professor X, curiously. Also in this Dark Cerebro sequence, other scenes of mutants dying due to its effects were going to be shown. Among them, a Hank McCoy on a talk show, turning into a beast, but these scenes were also deleted. All this because they did not want the character to be only a cameo, and they wanted an introduction worthy of the character's name, leaving this opportunity for the next installment. But again, the creative problems appear. 2004 arrives, X-Men The Last Stand, the third of the saga, and the one that would conclude the arc of Xavier's group of mutants, originally being directed by Bryan Singer, but a pilot twist occurred. Warner offers Singer a great bet that he would direct the return of Superman in the cinema, being the last film of the Man of Steel since 1987, 17 years apart. Singer left the production of X-Men, leaving a script treatment in which one of the ideas for Gambit to appear, played by none other than Keanu Reeves. John Wick, instead of throwing knives, would throw explosive cards. Reeves was already on a roll with the Matrix trilogy, but Singer's departure changed everything, bringing in Brett Ratner as director, who made several changes regarding the characters, including the complete elimination of Gambit from the story. But if the saga is already over, are we left without opportunities to see the New Orleans thief? Well, Fox was not going to stop undermining the success of the X-Men with the end of the trilogy, so it wanted to exploit the potential of the mutants further, starting a series of prequel spin-offs with the character who was by far the most popular, Wolverine, thus being the one who was going to give away to an X-Men origin saga, like the Deadpool spin-off and the Magneto one, the latter being replaced by X-Men First Class. So Fox took the opportunity to give Gambit a more extensive introduction, with the original actor Channing Tatum playing the role, taking Step Up as a reference film, showing Channing Tatum, who leans more towards sensuality, characteristic behavior of LeBeau. But with a contract already signed with G.I. Joe, Tatum could not be part of the cast of X-Men Origins, so Taylor Kitsch took his place in the prequel, with rumors of a contract for 3 subsequent films. But the film ended up crashing headlong, having several things against it, such as the writer's strike. The film did not have the desired result in critics, currently having a 38% on Rotten Tomatoes. Although Taylor Kitsch's performance was not bad, The film did not project him as an amazing superhero, rather seemed like a casino magician who runs on ceilings, making it one of the negative reviews that people saw of the film, so that it was the last time Kitsch played the role. However, the film was a box office success, grossing $373 million, more than double the budget, making this film profitable, so they continued to explore producing more spin-off films, so they still had the opportunity to give Gambit his solo film. It was already 2014. X-Men First Class, The Wolverine, had been released, and that year, X-Men Days of Future Past was released, and there was still no sign of Gambit. When after several comments from Channing Tatum showed his affection for Remy LeBeau, and coming from Tatum's words,
and he's my favorite X-Men. I think he's like the most real of all of them. You know, he's a thief. He's not even a hero. It's like he's not a good guy.
After many hints, the producer of the X-Men saga, Lauren Shuler Donner, confirmed that she was dying to make a solo Gambit movie, starring Tatum, who was going to join the other X-Men in later films. And this was the first step towards taking serious action regarding Gambit's arrival on the big screen. Within months, the story was already being treated. The writer, Josh Zudermer, RoboCop, and Patriots Day was found. The producers. The film was estimated to be the release in the fall of 2016, and in 2015, Channing Tatum was applauded by Comic-Con when his cast was confirmed by Stan Lee. So everything was already starting to move forward well. Only a director was missing. And then the problems that haunted this character returned. Rupert Wyatt was originally hired to be the director of the film, but after 10 weeks of production, he resigned due to creative differences he had with Fox. Channing Tatum and producer Kinberg, creative differences that generated rewrites, lengthening the waiting times, in addition to the budget cuts that Fox made to the film due to the failure at the box office and with critics that were the Fantastic Four in 2015, making the film unfilmable for Wyatt. Later, in late 2015, Fox decided to have Doug Liman, The Edge of Tomorrow, Mr. and Miss Smith, take over as director. But again, due to creative issues, Liman did not continue directing, but this time because of the attempts to give the film the right tone. This is because Tatum showed interest from the beginning in making a different movie, not just another superhero movie, and the huge success that Deadpool was at the box office and with critics, something rare due to the adult tone that this one had. So this served as a push for the Gambit movie to experience a different color and contrast to the other movies. But this led to Lehman not fully connecting with the script, so he resigned from the position in August 2016. After constant delays in the release dates, endless rewrites, and recording that never arrived, it was 2017, and the movie that was supposed to arrive in the summer of 2016 had not yet been released. This time without a director was used to come up with the right script, which was already being achieved, little by little. And finally, the director Gore Verbinski, Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy, Rango, joined to the team. But again, creative differences and scheduling problems made the director leave the project. The production was again adrift, but it still had a budget accepted by Fox and a script that was on the right track. The problem that never went away was the direction. A director was needed. Even Channing and his partner producer, Reed Carolyn, applied for the position, something that Fox did not put a good eye on, because they had no experience as directors. They had no references of their work directing. So this never came to fruition, but even so, a hopeful Channing Tatum was already closer to his film than before. But all this stopped dead when the purchase happened. The X-Men saga was already reaching its culmination with the release of X-Men Dark Phoenix in 2019, and there were already news announcing the purchase of 20th Century Fox by the brand that was rising like foam with its Marvel Cinematic Universe, and this universe wanted to continue expanding. So on March 20th, 2019, Disney bought Fox, and with it, all the characters that Marvel had sold in the past, being them Fantastic Four and the X-Men. Fans jumped for joy with this news, but those who wanted to make the Gambit movie were left in suspense, fearing that couldn't happen with the character owned by the Mouse Company. A week later, the producers of Gambit announced that Disney was evaluating the movie, to see if it fit with the plans that Disney had with Marvel characters. After the wait, it was confirmed that Disney canceled the film, removing it from the release calendar. All this was a blow to the heart of Tatum, who had spent all these years of production with a genuine interest and passion about the vision he had for the character, who was even planning to replace Wolverine once he said goodbye in Logan. This whole journey was torturous, but is it the first time that something like this has happened? The answer is absolutely not. Cases of productions that already had casting, a story treatment, and even that 100% of the film was recorded, but for legal, economic, or creative reasons, these films never reached the big screen. There are plenty like them, but in the world of superheroes, we have recent examples such as the Batgirl movie, costing $90 million, with singer Leslie Grace giving life to the superheroine. The movie being completely recorded and already in post-production, but after some test screenings, the movie had a very bad reception, in addition to the merger of Warner Media and Discovery Incorporated. This caused the plans that Warner had with DC to take a big change. Among them, the cancellation of the Batgirl movie, which would not fit into the plans Discovery had with their future projects of the brand. Another slightly similar case was that of Fantastic Four of the 90s, produced by Constantine Films, which recorded a movie with these characters so as not to lose the intellectual rights of them, making a low-budget movie, but at such a low level that the marketing of it did not enter the budget, having to be paid by the actors. But another problem was there was no money for the release of this, canceling its arrival in theaters despite its recording. Well, everything seemed like Channing Tatum's Gambit would fall into the lost media of cinema and would be forgotten. All until Marvel's Jesus arrived. July 22, 2024, the long-awaited Deadpool and Wolverine is released. A film that will conclude the Deadpool trilogy, and which has been predicted for months that it will be loaded with references to previous films of the saga. But everyone who was aware of the news in the geek world raised their eyebrows when they saw Channing Tatum with his deck of cards in hand, his classic uniform, and heard him with his Louisiana French accent. What was only seen in edited images and in the imagination is finally on the big screen. All this happening because the director, Sean Levy, and the protagonist, Ryan Reynolds, when reviewing the possible cameos that the film would have, had great consideration in the years that Tatum had been trying to embody the superhero, allowing him the opportunity in the film that has already made more than $800 million in revenue. But now everyone will wonder, now what? Since the purchase in 2019, Marvel showed interest in proposing its version of the X-Men, the big step forward being the cameo of Beast and the mention of Charles Xavier in the post-credits scene of The Marvels, and the reboot of the X-Men animated series from the 90s, with X-Men 97 being totally acclaimed by the audience, having a 99% and a 94% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. All of these being signs that the arrival of the X-Men to the MCU will soon come. But the question is, will Channing Tatum return as Gambit? In recent Instagram posts, Reynolds gives a few words to Tatum for his long-standing commitment to the role, in which he states that out of so many millions of faces, Channing's is the one that fits the character perfectly, endorsing him, and in his own words, leaving the door open for Tatum to reincarnate, and in fact, that would be no problem with him doing so. First, the same actor can play the same character in several universes, something we saw in the Loki series, with Tom Hiddleston playing several versions of the character from other universes, and in Ant-Man Quantumania, with Jonathan Majors playing different versions of Kang. Second, the fact that the character was never in the original X-Men universe drives the use of this interpretation in future installments of the X-Men. Whatever the future of the character, a man who spent years trying to get the producers to give him the go-ahead to develop the ideas he had in his mind, and who, after a total mourning for the work he did, and which apparently led to nothing, and that this actor had the opportunity to fulfill this wish from his checklist, greatly thanking Reynolds and Levy for the confidence they had in him. And as Tatum said, all things happen for a reason. So what are your thoughts? Drop a comment on this video, hit the subscribe button, and tell us what movies or series you'd like us to deep dive into next. This channel is produced by movie fans for movie fans.